Zeophates, oxygen not included, tutorials, tips, and tricks. And welcome everybody to another tips, tricks, and setup. So today, today we're going to start on food production. Now I'm going from a day one start. This realistically will probably be a day 2, maybe a 3 for you. But where it sits right now, you've got your outhouses and you've got your cots. Now, your next problem is you need food. Simple and straight, all right. There's 2 ways you can get food right at this exact instant. First instance is you go over to Harvest Plants. You have it set to enable harvest, and anything your dupes can get at all, you turn it on. What this is going to do is they're automatically going to go through, and anytime any of these are harvestable, they're going to harvest it, they're going to get food. Now, I don't want my food laying around. So come to your ration box, I set it to all edibles, and I set it to a priority 9. What that means is the dupe is going to stop and not follow any other tasks until that task is done. And there are 2 priority systems, which I will go over in a later tutorial video. So you saw them grab it and go. Okay? Well, now we need research. So the very first thing we're going to need, and in order to do this, you're going to need metal, is I'm going to grab a research station. First of all, I'm going to clear out some room. Again, I'm not too concerned about order at this exact moment. But this looks good. Okay. So, for research, we're going to need a research bench. And right at the beginning, so if we shut off Sandbox, we've got very, very, very limited research and options that you can work with. As you unlock materials, you will get more options to do. But for now, we've only got a little bit of stuff. So we're going to need a manual generator. And I generally try to suggest 2 batteries. And then we're going to need to wire those up. Just a little tip, wires can go behind plants, but if you send a wire through a natural tile like this, which is a tile that you have not created, they will dig that tile out. So keep that in mind. In the manual generator, I usually tell it to set to 20%. What that is going to do is when the batteries reach, or the total battery capacity of whatever's on that grid reaches 20% or less, it's going to set a task for the dupe to come and charge that battery. So you see him running up there right now, and he's just going to start giving it. So, what do we need? Well, my first goal is always food at this junction. And to do that, you've got basic farming and meal preparation. I always set for meal preparation. That's my first goal. Because I want the farm tiles in order for me to start building up our food production. And Since I now have access in here, let's get the harvest enabled for those. See? So once that research is done, how are we going to get food production going? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and we're going to go into our food category and we're going to grab our farm tile. There's 3 ways you can grow food: planter box, farm tile, and hydroponic farm. Planter boxes and farm tiles, really, they do the same thing. The only exception is planter box just has to sit, and you select what type seed you want in there. Where a farm tile, on the other hand, one, it sits in the ground, and the second is you can rotate it so you can plant upside down. Now, why do you need the upside down? Well, there's some plants like the pepper plant that they only grow upside down. So you need to be able to do that. These tiles here are complete, these 2 are completely manual operation. Your dupes have to go and affect them. So keep that in mind. I personally, after later research, like going to the hydroponic farm, because then you just pump liquid into them and they only have to fertilize them. But we need food, and so we need to get it to start growing. Well, my first question for early on is, how many dupes do I have? I currently have 3. It takes 5 farm tiles set for mealwood.
Excuse me.
5 farm tiles set for mealwood is enough to feed 1 dupe. Since I have 3, I need to multiply this. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, we can simply come here, copy our settings, and there we go. If there's something in the way, you're going to need to dig it up. Now, what's the difference between growing a seed and a natural seed? A natural seed will fully grow in 12 cycles. Not too good. When fertilized, a farmed seed will grow in 3 for mealwood. So this here massively speeds up the speed at which everything grows. With the downside being you have to fertilize it, you have to interact with it. The natural world, this thing will grow, it's going to take 4 times as long, but it has the advantage of you don't have to interact with it until it's harvest. So really it depends on what if you've got a lot of these kicking around and you can preserve the area where they're in, it might be worthwhile to just leave them alone. Okay. Now these guys are actually waiting for dirt, which I haven't actually dug. Normally you'll have a lot more resources than I do at this point in time because you're actually digging a lot of these areas out. Okay, so really, what's our next step? Our next step is getting our first little bit of oxygen going. I usually just put in 1 oxygen diffuser, and I'll attach it to my research. So at this point in time, as it sits, you have your toilets, you've got your bedrooms, you've got your research capability that's just starting your research, and you now have food growing. So your colony is secure for a little while. The problem is there are two creeping deaths happening at this point. CO2, because it's starting to accumulate as your dupes are breathing, running around, and everything else. I guess it is. They're excreting more CO2. And when they use these, you're slowly going to start gathering polluted water. So those are going to be challenges later ahead.